Hello folks, this is Sula once again. This is going to be a quick commentary video for a variant that I did in the original Rogue Legacy, known as the Pacifist variant, or at least that's the name that I've used for it. So Rogue Legacy 2 is in early access as I'm recording this right now, and that had me playing a fair bit of Rogue Legacy, and I wanted to go back and try there was a variant I always wanted to try and never did, and that is something that I call the pacifist variant, whereby you never actually attack monsters ever the entire game. So the only way to get gold is to find it in chests or to get it from breaking the various objects that are strewn throughout the dungeon. And the only way to deal with bosses is to use reflected damage. So that's what we're going to have here. I actually have 300% reflected damage. You can see it there on the right side of the screen. Retaliation, return 300% damage. So I also pulled up the boss's stats there. This is a highlight video of me taking on the various bosses under this variant. Kidir is the first boss. He has 1500 health, and I am reflecting back 3 times damage. Every time I'm getting hit, I'm taking 55 damage and dealing 165. So you can just do the math kind of in reverse. If he has 1500 health and I reflect back 3 times the damage I'm taking, I need 500 health to be able to kill him. 500 times 3, 1500. So that's easily enough with this barbarian having 968 health. And so just like that, we're going to take down the first boss. It's pretty ridiculous to watch this. It is not like a normal boss fight. You are not dodging the boss's various attacks. You are literally walking right into them and just reflecting the damage back. And at this point I figured, well, I've got this character here. I've got all these retaliation runes and retribution gear on this character. Why don't we go ahead and see if I'm able to take down the next boss too? I had used the architect to lock down the castle from the previous character that I had gone through, and I had reached both the castle boss door and also the forest boss door. So we're going to see the second boss here, Alexander. He's a big flying skullhead, and so I'm going to check him. He has 2100 life. So again, 2100 life. If I'm reflecting back 3 times damage, that means if I can take about 700 damage worth, I can reflect back that 2100. So I should have just enough to do this. Now, Alexander does breed little skullheads, so I have to make sure that he is the one hitting me and not his little minions, because if I reflect damage back and kill the minions, that's not hurting him. But you can see I have just barely enough health to get the job done. And it would have been a little bit less close if I had been starting fresh, but it turned out this character was able to take down both of the first 2 bosses. So we'll wrap up with this guy, or a girl actually, it's a female barbarian, and then we'll have to use some other characters to do the other bosses. So this is a highlight video, as I said, cut together from a couple different characters. The drops there are actually quite bad. For both of these first 2, you get random stat gains when you defeat the bosses. Strength is useless because I don't attack. Magic damage useless because I don't cast spells. And then the last one was mana, which is somewhat useful. I actually got the same stats from the first 2 bosses. So here we are with a different barbarian. We're getting ready to take on the third boss, Ponce de Leon. I meant to use the architect to lock down the castle for this attempt at the boss. I actually forgot and then found my way up to the tower boss anyway, so I was able to get in there even though I had forgotten to lock down the castle. So here we are against Ponce de Leon, the third boss. So the strategy should be pretty familiar by now. I'm going to pause and look, 2200 health. I'm reflecting the same 3 times damage. Although the thing that's changed is I actually have negative armor this time. Yeah, I actually have negative armor, so I take more damage than what's stated. I think Ponce is supposed to do about 75 damage. And note I actually take 94 damage, so I'm actually taking even more damage than what's listed, but I'm reflecting it back. And you can see I have plenty of health to spare here. So that's enough to take down the boss. Once again, pretty easy stuff. Even if you are really bad at this game, if you find all the retaliation runes and you are able to find the retribution gear, which has more damage reflection, you can beat these bosses by just walking into their attacks. This is a much better drop on the stats. I get a health gain, which is what I need the most, and I also get mana and armor, which are also useful. So now we're going to get to the last of the four major bosses as I splice in another barbarian, and the one that is by far the most difficult for this setup. If you have played this game, you are probably thinking, well, those first three bosses are pretty easy, but what are you going to do about Herodotus, the fourth of the main bosses in this game? Herodotus is a big blob monster, and every time that you hit him, he splits, and he splits, what is it, I think you start with one blob and he will split ultimately down to 32. So you have to get hit 32 times. Maybe it's actually 33 times. It's 32 or 33 times in all, which is a lot more hits than it took to defeat these other bosses. And in addition to that, every time that Herodotus splits, it spawns a flying earth mage. So all that's going to create some serious problems here. So what I'm going to look for first of all is the one saving grace in this boss fight, and that is the fact that there can be chickens inside these boxes. So I'm going to break these open, and as it turns out, yes, there are two chickens here, and that's great because that gives me a realistic chance to win this fight. I had actually been re-rolling Herodotus repeatedly until I found a setup where there was at least one chicken, although this time I get lucky and there's actually two. So you can see I'm going to go ahead and grab that when I can get the max benefit from it. And so the big thing I need to do is I need to be walking into the blobs, not walking into the earth mages or the little pillars they cast. And also, I can't get hit by the pressure plate spikes that rise up from the floor. All of those are bad. So this might seem simple. Well, just walk into the enemy, but this is the one fight where it's actually not that simple. Anytime you see me taking 47 damage, that's good. That's the damage I want. 47 taken, 188 reflected. I do not want that. See right there, I take 62. That means I hit one of the earth mages. That is bad. That's damage that's not going on to the boss. So I'm doing my best to try to avoid that, but it's not easy. I'm also trying to get some good use out of the barbarian shout here too, which basically throws everything away from me. But then I get a bad hit there. It's like, hit another earth mage. See, I have like just barely enough health to make this work if I don't hit any of the earth mages or the pressure plate floor spikes. But if I hit any of them, it gets a lot dicier. Fortunately, I have picked up the double chickens. Without the double chickens, I would have already have no shot at this battle because I just don't have enough health to make this work. I've also had to carefully set this up so I have just enough damage to kill all of the blobs in one hit, but also minimize how much damage I'm taking. So like that's the sweet spot there. Enough to kill them in one hit. I believe they have about 175 health, but not so much that I will be taking more damage because I'm taking 47 per hit. I also get super duper duper lucky and get a chicken drop from one of the blobs, which is going to be the saving grace in this battle because otherwise, as you can see, I'm having trouble here. I'm like, I just need to walk into this blob, but I hit another mage and oh no, I was still invincible walking through that blob. It's like, get over here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. I need to walk into you. Yes. And whew. That was not an easy battle at all. Needed 3 chicken drops to make that happen. I played it a little bit sloppily at times. Another thing that would make this battle more viable, and here I get a nice drop, I get another health increase and armor, which are both useful. The strength, not useful. The other thing that would make this useful would be finding the remaining 2 pieces of the retribution gear. Right now I have 4 times damage return. I have all 5 retaliation runes, but I'm missing the retribution gear. I never managed to find that. I think it's because my level got too high to the point where it wouldn't drop. So I only have 3 out of 5 pieces of that gear. If I'd been able to find all 5 pieces, I could have stacked more armor, and then I still would have been able to kill the blobs while taking less damage myself. So what's happening here is I figured, hey, I've beaten all the bosses. Let's go scout out the final 2 bosses, the Johannes and the Fountain. I did not think that this character had any chance to defeat them because I had taken all that damage. I didn't even stop and pick up the chickens at the various teleporters. So like every teleporter at the boss doors and at the entrance to each new area, they always have a chicken and they always have a flask. And I could have just gone around, teleported to all of them and grabbed them. But at this point I was like, I'm not going to beat these bosses. Let's just walk in here, see how much health they have because I didn't actually know how much health they had. And then and then I can come back here with another barbarian. But I've been getting pretty good luck with the chicken drops. I actually got 2 different chickens to drop just here in the little entry room that you get in the demo, and then you see again when you come back here to fight the final bosses. So I actually did get double chicken drops there, which is pretty lucky. And I was like, all right, well, that gives me a little bit more health. So let's go ahead in and see what we can do about Johannes. So standard dialogue, if you've played this game, you've seen the dialogue, and I've seen it many times. So that's why I'm going by it quickly. Johannes will go ahead and toss his axes and his daggers. Look at what he's got here. So he does 1900 health. He deals 90 damage. So I take 90 and I reflect 360. I was like, wait a minute, that's 5 hits. So he will die in 5 hits to me. So I will only take 90 times 5. What is that? That's 450 health. I was like, wait a minute, that's actually not that much. Actually, not that much damage done to me. Again, it's pretty funny here how I don't even have to dodge his attacks or anything. I just walk into him. And there was even another chicken here in the boss room on one of the little pieces of furniture or whatever. So at this point, I was like, wait a minute. Even though I didn't heal up to full before coming in here, maybe I'm actually strong enough to beat the 2 final bosses anyway, just with reflected damage. It's because they do not seem to be anywhere near as difficult as Herodotus after what I just went through. So once again, I'm going to pick up the chickens that drop. I've got 900 health here. So right there, I took 110 damage, reflected 440. This boss has 2,600 health. So again, 2,600 divided by 4. That means if I have about 700 health, I will win the battle. And it turned out I was at like 900 health. So it's actually mathematically impossible for me to lose this battle because if he hits me, he takes damage. So, I mean, I can't take damage that's not caused by the final boss. So it's literally impossible to lose the battle. There's nothing I can do. I can't lose. So I literally just walk into his attacks and that's it. That's the end of the game. So I cut out most of the credits here because the credits are a little bit lengthy, but I just wanted to show the final stats here. Total number of airs, 61. Total amount of time played, about 8 hours. If you're curious about more details for this Pacifist run, I have a write-up on my website, and I'll link that underneath the video description for anyone who wants to go check it out. So yeah, it is possible to do the game without ever attacking physically, at least on normal. Check this out. 0 attack upgrades, 0 magic damage upgrades. Yep. 0 out of 75, 0 out of 75. But hey, a whole lot of health upgrades. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this quick little video. Until next time, have a great week. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.